Hello guys, in this video we'll be talking about control structures. Control structures is one of the fundamental parts of programming that every user of any form of program should be very much aware. They offer you as a user the control over the flow of your program, your process, your algorithm and all that. So let's think of it in this way. I wake up in the morning and I'm about to step out to go to wherever, maybe work or whatsoever. I need to perform some kind of check on the weather conditions to know if it's absolutely fine to go or if it's not fine for me to go. The simple check if condition is the weather condition is okay for me to go or not to go is adding some form of control to the flow of my movement for that morning. So that's what control structures offer to you as a programmer and also in whatever you're going to be doing as a data analyst. So we have two common types of control structures. The first are conditional statements, which I just gave us an example. If the weather is okay, I can go out. If it's not okay, I cannot go out. And the second is a loop statements, which is to perform a repetitive task over a range of items or while a particular condition is true. For example, we could say while the sun is shining, keep at it. So keep doing whatever it is you're doing while it is shining. What we've created is a repetitive loop of whatever process I am doing at that point to continue going as long as the sun is still shining. Another case is if I have a basket of balls. I could say for every ball in my basket that is above a certain size, paint to this particular color. So if a ball is longer or bigger than 7 inches in diameter, paint it this color. What I've done is to put a structure, a control that will perform a repetitive action as long as a ball meets a particular condition. So we're going to bring this into your programming with Python for data analytics because there's several things you want to do or you're going to be doing, and you need to put a structure, a control to them. Let's take for instance the famous Pythagoras theorem, where you have the length of the hypotenuse is equal to the square root of the sum of the squares of the both other sides of the other sides. Now what you have there is a process, an order, and certain times you want to repeat the same process for different triangles. You would need to perform, or you need to create a loop, or you need to structure your algorithm in the process in a way where it can continue to repeat that process as long as there are new triangles. Now we're going to look at these two types of control structures in Python, our conditional statements and our loop statements in this video. Let's start with the first one, which is our conditional statements. And like we've learned in our previous video, basically there are three: the if, the elif, and the else statements. Also keep your eye out for certain key things you need to practice or you need to keep at the back of your heart while you're working with control statements. So we have if, elif, and else. Now, the if statement runs if a particular condition is true. Let's start by declaring age. Let's start by declaring age to be equal to 18. So we now know that the value of age is equal to 18. If I go ahead to say if age is equal to 18 and I execute, what I've done is I only gave it the conditional statement. I only gave it the condition, which is to check if age is equal to 18. And also notice this tiny colon that we have here, because at the end of every condition in control statements, control structures, you have to add a colon. So if age is equal to 18, age being equal to 18 is our condition. You have a colon. Now the next thing you must include is an indent. Now you have your condition, and then you would have a block of code which should run if this condition is true. So I want to say if age is equal to 18, then print you are qualified. If I execute this, it tells me you are qualified because age is equal to 18. So basically that's how it works. It's just like somebody coming to a desk where you're working and you have to ask the question, are you the guest you are inviting? So you're asking, at the back of your mind, you have something playing out. If this is the guest, let him in. That's what we've done here. How about if he is not the guest? So just going to duplicate this, and let's have what should happen if the person is not 18 years old. Now for your else line of command, it should be in the same position where your if command is. Subsequently, we'll talk about nested loops, where in an original loop you have, in an original control structure, you have another one inside of it, but we're coming there. So if I say else, so I'm saying else if this person is not 18, tell the person, so let's say print you are not for this role. So let's change it this time around. Already we have declared that age is equal to 18. We've assigned the value 18 to the variable age, and now we are saying if age is 20. So if the person is not 18 years, the person is not qualified for the role. Right? Listen again. This is usually the point where I have a lot of students have issues. If age is equal to 20, but we know that age is equal to 18. But if age is equal to 20, tell the person you're qualified. If the age is not equal to 20, tell the person you are not for this role. Currently, our age is equal to 18. So, what do you think this will return to us? Take 5 seconds and think about it. Alright, I'm sure you've figured it out. To tell us you are not for this role because the age that we initially declared is equal to 18 years. Does that make sense? Okay, let's take it a bit further. What if the age is not tied to just a particular value? What if we have a range? For example, if the age is greater than 18, the person is qualified for the role. If the person is exactly 18 years old, the person should be on probation. Otherwise, the person is not qualified for the role. Think of it in this case. I have a pen and I want someone to go to the mall to get me exactly that pen. I'm going to say, if you find my pen in the mall, get me 5 of it. Otherwise, do not get me any pen. That's just an if-else statement. If I give the command, check for this my pen in the mall. If you find it, buy me 5 of it. If you do not find it, buy me the sister product of that same company. If you don't find it, come back. So I now have the first condition, which is if you find my exact pen. The second condition is if you do not find my exact pen, but you find a pen from a sister company, buy from it. And then I went further to say, if you don't find from either of these, do not buy any. So we have 3 steps. And another thing you need to take note about these conditional statements is that they follow the order in which you present them. Let's have a look at this. So let me duplicate this again. If age is equal to 20, so this time around we want to say if age is greater than 18, tell the person you're qualified. Now we want to put the second step to say if the person is exactly 18 years old, let's put him on a 1 year probation. So how you write that particular kind of command is if. And just like the if statement, you must put the condition. Think about our earlier example. If you find my pen, so the condition is clear. Find my pen. Otherwise, if you find the sister product, the product of the sister company, second condition clear. And then the final condition is if any of these above is not true, then come back. So usually the final command doesn't come with any condition, because its condition is by default is if every other thing above it is false, then do me. Okay, so we are now saying Elif, if age is exactly equal to 18, don't forget your colon, then print will give you a month probation. Oops, we have a certain problem here. Using this, if I try to run this, you can see that everything below here is showing red, which is seeing it as a string. This is because when we began with this, the next quote it saw is thinking that it's the end of this, and so every other thing is still being seen as a string. To solve this problem, you may want to use double quotes. Right? So I have 2 quotes there. So you see nothing shows, so it works. So another way you could do that is to use that as well, the double quotes too, and you have that. Another way you could also do it is use double quotes around, which would work, and then have a single quote inside there, which would work. So whichever way you want to go about it. Now we'll give you a month probation, and this is exactly because we declared age to be equal to 18. So we checked the first condition, is age equal to 18? No. So it goes to the next condition, is age greater than 18? First condition. Second condition, is age equal to 18? Yes. Then it went ahead to print this. If I go ahead and declare, let me use the enter input command here so we can input the age every time we run this. So I'm going to declare that age is equal to input, and then we're going to say enter your age. But don't forget that I told you previously that every result or everything you enter in the input function is converted to a string, even if it is numbers. So if I enter a value here, Python is going to take age to be a string, and it's going to give me an error because I'll be trying to compare this, which is a string, with an integer. Let's see how it works. So it tells me enter your age, and I tell it 23 and enter, and it returns an error because type error, that this kind of operation does not support instances of string and integer. You can't compare a string and an integer. So to solve this problem, we are going to use the int command around it. So the int command is going to convert whatever we put there as input to an integer. Right. And this also helps us because we're not expecting age to be a decimal, expecting it to be a whole number. So if I run this and I put 23.5, it also tells me an error because invalid literal for int. Int cannot be 23.5. If you want to solve that problem to accept decimals, you could use float, or you could use the round function, which would be more preferable for this particular issue, to convert to a whole number. Well, otherwise, let's work with this. So enter your age, and I said age is 17, and it tells me you're not for this role. Why? Because age, first of all, is not greater than 18, so this condition is not true, so it will not return this. And then it steps down to the next. Is age equal to 18? And 17 is not equal to 18, so this condition is not true as well. So it won't print or give you a month probation. It goes down to the next line of command, which is if every other thing has turned out to be false, then please return for us that you are not for this role. How do you like that? I could further tweak this. Maybe I want to include the age and use the fprint command. It's one of my favorite ways to print. And I would say, now with the f command, the fprint, I could now use a curly bracket to have a variable in my print statement. So I'm now going to say age, which is the variable being created, is not, that this age is not old enough for this job. You are not for this role. If I run this, I have 17 again. It tells me 17, not age, because age is in a curly bracket. 17 is not old enough for this job. You are not for this role. So that's the basic concept of the if, elif, else statements. Now you could go ahead and have so much more of them. You could have multiple elif. Take note, you can have multiple elif statements, one if, multiple elif, and just one else. Let's take an example to see that. So we want to declare a variable score, and let's score be an integer where we are asked to input what is, just say, the exam score. The exam score. And then we'll now say if score is greater than 90. So that's our condition, right? We can now say print a. Elif score is greater than 80, then you can go ahead and print B. If score is greater than 70, you can go ahead and print C. Let's do if score is greater than 60, you can go ahead and print D. And let's say otherwise, so if score is not any of these, go ahead and print you have failed. We could do an F print to say we're gonna say score is too low. Okay, so we run this, and if we have 69, tells us a D because it is greater than 70. So first of all, this is how it works. Don't forget, checks the first condition. If it is not true, goes to the next condition. Not true, go to the next condition. Not true, goes to the next condition where it is finally true, and then it executes the block of command that is inside of it. In a nested if statement, you could have an if statement inside of it. For example, let's say if somebody scores an A, I could go ahead and have another if statement and say if score is greater than or equal to 95, then go ahead and print A plus. Go ahead and print an A plus. So let's see what happens here. If I execute this and then I give a 91, so notice, what do you think it's going to happen? First of all, is 91 greater than 90? That's true. So it's going to execute every block of code inside of there. So it's going to go ahead and print A, and then it will go ahead to check if it is greater than or equal to 95, which is still not perfect, because if it is 91, it should not go ahead to check this, right? It should just print A and stop. Because what if I put 96? If I put 96, it's still going to print A and still go ahead to attempt to print A plus. So this is where you must develop skill in your control structures. You should know where what should fall in and how it should fall in. So my print A should not come here. Rather, it should come in my else statement. So else print A. In other words, if you find out that my score is greater than or equal to 95, tell me A plus. Otherwise, if it is not, tell me A. So if I run this, it tells me 91. Let's try and let's do for 97. Tells me A plus. So in an if loop, I have another if loop. Now, supposing somebody is now entering a score above 100, which of course would not be accurate, then something is wrong with my control structure. So if I do this and somebody had 101, it still go ahead and tell me an A plus, which is not accurate. So as part of my control structure, I want to make sure that no score is above 100. So I'm going to have an if statement above all of this to say if score is greater than 100, right? go ahead and print invalid score. Oh, is that making sense? So this guy can now become an Elif. That's one way to do that. So Elif score is greater than 90 to this. So if I execute this now and I have 101, tells me invalid score. And come on your own, you can go ahead and try to put another condition to make sure that this doesn't go below 0. So nobody should have a negative score. Of course, there are other ways to do this. I could have enclosed everything in the original if, or let's go ahead and try something. So I have this. If score is greater than 100, print invalid score. What if I have multiple conditions? Alright, so I want to say score is greater than 100 or score is less than 100. Then do this. So score is greater than 100 or less than 0. So we could have or, which is a keyword, score less than 0. If we execute this, -3 tells us invalid score, and then still jumps all the way down to tell us you have failed. -3 is too low. Now the problem with this is that I need to change this to an Elif. Good. So let's try that again. 101, and it stops at invalid score. So that's going to be all for our conditional statements. In the next video, we are going to go ahead and look at our loop statements. See you soon.